during the role of Adolf Hitler in Germany from 1933 to 1945, scholars who were expelled. Okay, if you have a clear idea about history and how world wars happen and how things happen, uh, in Germany, Adolf Hitler expelled Jews from Germany because he wanted Germany to be a full German country and not a mixture of other nations, right? And එයාට ඕනේ වුණා, he needed his monopoly. අපි කියන එකට ඒකාධිකාරයක් කියලා. He wanted to rule by himself, right? And he wanted no one above him, right? No one above him in education, no one above him in power, no one above him in wealth, likewise. So he expelled some scholars who were bright scholars in Germany from the universities during his ruling time, 1933 to 1945, right? And they were expelled and they were migrated to Europe and United States. And they continued their studies in Europe and United States. And they were these primitive scholars who developed and who contributed in expansion of communication studies, right? In names, they were Harold B. Laswell, Kat Leving, Post Laswell, Wilbur Schramm, George Gabner, Claude Sharon, Warren Weaver, such as scholars, right? And they said means that those scholars who were expelled from Germany to Europe and United States, they set the stage for communication as an independent subject, right? Because communication studies was institutionalized. As we discussed previously, communication studies was dependent in other arenas of study such as psychology, psychology, political science, and sociology, right? But for the very first time, it was institutionalized by Professor Wilbur Schramm in 1940s, right? He established the communication research institutions and university academic divisions to study communication studies as a independent subject, right? And the University of Illinois of Chicago, United States was the very first university to study communication and academic discipline, right? And in 1960s, it began to be studied as an independent subject. So what you can get is that even communication studies was institutionalized in 1940s, and it was started to study as an academic discipline in the University of Illinois. From 1916 onwards, it has been studied an independent subject. So from 1940s here to 1960s, what has been done is researching on communication studies, right? 1940 ඉඳලා 1960 වෙනකන් ඉගලක් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. They were researching about communication studies, how it to be developed as an independent subject. ඒක කොහොමද independent විෂයක් ස්වාධීන විෂයක් කරන්න කියන එක ගැන ඒගොල්ලෝ පර්යේෂණ කළා. In 1960s they had begun to study in communication as an independent subject. 1916 and 70s, just after communication studies being started to be studied as an independent subject, it was discovered that media and message activism, right? Make it the way සිංහලෙන් කියනවා සංදේශ සහ මාධ්‍ය ක්‍රියාකාරීත්වය කියලා. The way how media and messages affect on human, right? In human social life. And it was presented by media affect everything in people's social life, right? From the very beginning, it discovered that media is such a powerful tool to impact in everything of people's social life. As we discussed, from 1940s to 1960s, there was researching of, so these are the significant researchers that related to communication studies during that time, right? Professor Wilbur Schramm, right, who we talk here as a primitive scholar developed communication as an independent subject. Professor Wilbur Schramm, he researched and found that there's is a connection between children's social contact, distance, and television, right? He discovered that with the implementation of television, the way children interact with the society has been limited and has been shaped by television, right? They were quite interacting with television than interacting with society. That was his research finding, and that based on that findings, a further research was conducted by the University of Pennsylvania, and they confirmed the above research findings of Wilbur, right? They confirmed that children have changed their pattern of behavior, the way how they interact with the society, and the way how they talk, the way how their language changed based on the impact of television, right? With the impact of television, everything changed in children's life. And the main three influences the Pennsylvania University scholars studied based on the Professor Wilberschram's research report was the children did decrease the sensitivity to painful things, right? ඒගොල්ලෝ ළමයින්ගේ ටෙලිවිෂන් බැලුවේ දරුවන්ගේ මේ painful දේවල් වලට වේදනාකාරී දේවල් වලට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ තිබ්බ sensitivity එක. එයාලගේ තිබ්බ සංවේදීතාවය සෑහෙන්න අඩු වෙලා තිබ්බා because of this television, right? And those children were in a constant useless fear of the world they live and the environment around them. They were always in a fear, right? Because in the very emergence of television, the contents were quite based on the war. හරිද? මේ යුද්ධකින් පස්සේනේ අර අපි කියන්නේ post war mentality එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා අපිට තියෙනවානේ. ලංකාවේ දැන් තියෙනවානේ ඒක. ඒ වගේ යුද්ධෙන් පස්සේ මේ media text, right? media මාධ්‍යෙන් ඉගෙනන පෙන්වන දේවල් හැදිලා තිබ්බේ අර war context එක ඇතුලේ, right? ඒව බලපු පුංචි ළමයි, the children who saw them, they were in a constant and useless fear of the world in which they live and the environment around them. And also, because of that war context, children were much aggressive in dealing with others, right? They were fighting with their colleagues, they were fighting with their parents, they were always trying to fight, crash, dash things down. Likewise, television was highly affecting on the mind and behavior of children. And this was the significant research that led the pathway to communication studies to be studied as an independent subject.